Hey guys, it is Friday. It is October the 7th. We are moving right along pretty quick here um, in October. I always say when September's over with, Christmas is here. But lot going on, and I didn't want to burden y'all with the long video that I did last time. Not many of y'all watched it. Honestly, it was pretty long, but there was a lot to talk about. But there's also a lot to talk about this time, so I'm going to move along pretty quick. First off on my list to talk about was or is Hurricane Ian. We made it. We got through it. We recently, some of the senior leader team had a debrief on the hurricane, kind of looking at what worked, what didn't really work, and what are some of the changes that we need to consider. Because there were some cool things that worked, there were a few things that didn't, and we've got some changes that are coming as a result. So, and what worked, we have gotten really good at preparing for power loss and the impact on medications. That is a serious risk. If we lose medication, sometimes we lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we've gotten really good at that. That really did work. Our plan works really good with that. Also, it worked that the generators were out. Our little portable generators were out and ready to be deployed if needed very early. They were pretty much in place at least the day before we were anticipating the hurricane. Um, what also worked was many of the sites thought ahead of time and called the patients to try to get them in earlier. The thing with a hurricane is we don't know what it's going to do. It's kind of a guessing game, so to speak. But those several sites took on their own initiative and said, let's see if we can't get these patients in early before the weather gets worse and we don't know what's going to be transpiring. And that worked really well. A lot of patients were able to come in early. The the other thing that really worked was our pharmacies. Our pharmacies, I don't know, I have to say hats off to our pharmacy folks. They really are very attentive to patient needs. They know that patients need their meds, and it was Friday. You know, um, a lot of patients, and I've been guilty of this, as probably y'all have too. You kind of look at your medicine bottle and go, "Oh my word, I'm going to run out before the weekend is over," and then you have to scurry around. Well, that happens more often than you think, and the pharmacy was really quite attentive to that, and they said they knew how things worked with patients, and they wanted to stay as long as they could. And by the way, I asked specifically with Ashley Singleton, our chief of pharmacy, whether or not, they had a pretty good business on Friday, and they did. Normally, they fill about 1,200 prescriptions a day. On Friday, they did right between close to 750, if I recall correctly. So patients still needed their medicine in it, and that worked. That worked that our pharmacies were very attentive to that and stayed open uh, sometimes for the full day. So, what didn't work and things that we have learned that we need to fix at our pharmacy building, our pharmacy space in McCall, even though it's a brand new building, the registers didn't work there, so we've got a little bit of electrical work to do to make sure that those outlets are now on the generator at McCall because those new buildings don't need a portable generator. They've all got installed big generators that can run a lot of that building. Also, one of the things that we looked at that didn't work is our current inclement weather policy really just doesn't work. And there are going to be some changes coming about that soon. We are too big of an organization. We need to make sure that whatever we do and however we respond to whatever emergency there is, whether it's a hurricane or an ice or snow or whatever, that we are very attentive to patient needs. And frankly, our inclement weather policy is going to be revised. We've got a work team that's working on it. It's not quite ready to be rolled out, but you will be getting the new policy fairly soon, and it'll come out as a news release. So make sure you become familiar with that, because there will be some changes. Also, since we realized that the standard process of calling patients really worked well in some cases, we're going to standardize that throughout the organization and let that be kind of the way Care South Carolina does business during an emergency, making contact with patients and seeing if we can meet their needs at an earlier time. So there's a few changes. We realized that we needed some better communication amongst those senior leaders, executive management team, and we're looking at different options to be able to accommodate that. It was a learning experience. You kind of say it was like a PDSA. I'm really glad that the hurricane kind of shifted direction there. It went a little bit more east. Uh, and we really didn't get a lot of damage and a lot of consequences from it. But hurricane season is not over, and on the heels of hurricane season comes winter with its ice and even snow. So we do have work to do in emergency preparation. Um, Kind of fortunate to have this little test that Ian gave us. We also recently did a debrief from our August staff meeting, so that we can plan our December staff meeting from things that we learned from the August staff meeting. And we learned an awful lot from what you told us from the August staff meeting. I really, really appreciate that. I want you to know that your comments and your evaluations are very, very important. We review them, take a look at them, analyze. A lot of times there are trends and there are things that we need to learn and do better in the next staff meetings. And that's exactly what happened. So here's the latest developments for our December staff meeting. Yes, there is going to be a December staff meeting. It will only be a 1 day meeting. We're not going to try to do a 2 day meeting again. We're going to remain optimistic that the community levels will remain in control, low or thereabouts. So it will be 1 day only, and that day has been selected. It is December the 14th, which is a Wednesday. It will be in the usual format of an all day session. We did learn that we probably will be doing a longer time for departmental breakouts. We heard a lot of folks say they really appreciated the training that we did offer in August, although it wasn't as much as they felt like was needed. So we hear you. We are going to be very intentional about training. That'll be part of our departmental breakouts in the December meeting, and that's why the departmental breakouts will actually be a little bit longer. Now we talk about food. No, there will not be boxed lunches next time. In the December meeting, we do intend to have the buffet lines restored. We're going to see if we can't do them a little bit more efficiently. We know those long lines are discouraging, but we're a big organization. We may not be able to completely avoid the long lines. Our meal will be a good traditional December celebratory meal that we usually have for our last staff meeting. That'll be special food and everything. So we're over the box lunches. We got it. If the community levels remain low, there will not be a masking requirement. We implemented that a couple of weeks ago, that when we are in community settings, which The staff meeting is in a community setting. That's not a healthcare facility. That's SIMT at Florence Darlington Tech, where we will continue to hold our staff meetings and see if we can't accommodate our workshops and breakout sessions and everything to continue there. Even though we've gotten larger, we're going to try to handle the logistics around all of that. We may have some changes to the way the afternoon or even the all the rest of the morning sessions happen and are scheduled, but that'll be forthcoming. Those are the major changes that are happening. I'm excited about our December staff meeting. It was so good to see folks in August, and December is always very, very special. So I'm looking forward to it. Last thing I really want to talk about is, I think everyone heard about our strategic planning retreat that was in September. Well, with our board of directors and our executive management and some of our senior leader team members, we really needed to have that retreat. We're coming out of a pandemic where a lot of things just got thrown to the wind, and now we need to do a much more intentional strategic focus. And we did that. The full strategic plan is not, of course, developed, but we did come away from that planning meeting with what will be our four strategic, we call them pillars of focus. And they are different. So here they are. Our first, and they're not in any particular order of priority, I need to say that, but our first pillar is around the patient experience to improve and assure that our patient experience is at the top level. And remember, the patient experience is about two things. It's not only about the operational experience of access to an appointment, access, hours of operation, and office visit cycle time, but the experience is also about the quality. So this will have two components of focus: quality performance and operational performance. The second pillar is around the health of our communities. That is really important. It's no longer possible for CareSouth to work in a vacuum as if we are solely responsible for only the health of our patients if they cross our pathways, our doorways, or so forth. That we have a larger responsibilities. We have a pretty big impact in our communities, and we felt that it was really important to acknowledge that and to put that as a key strategic focus to impact the overall health of our communities. The third pillar is a fairly new one that we've had before in the past, but we're coming back to, and that is around our financial responsibilities. Our responsibility to minimize the cost of our care that we provide while at the same time assuring our financial integrity. Care South Carolina has enjoyed some very good years of good financial sound health. We need to make sure that we continue that, but at the same time, we need to be responsible toward the rising cost of care, the waste that happens in our healthcare systems. There's been some research about waste in healthcare with a estimation that there could be as much as 30 to 40% waste in healthcare. Waste of supplies, waste of our time, waste of our resources. So that's our third pillar that we're going to focus on. And then the fourth is the focus on the well being of us, our employees. That's a very important aspect of who we are. We can't serve our patients if we don't focus on the well being of our employees, not just the health care of our employees, but also the well being, the happiness, the joy in work. There's going to be a lot of different attributes to this. And we're excited that this has become a strategic priority at CareSouth. All of these four things are going to be our pillars or our strategic focus, but every one of them will be looked at through the lens of equity. That's very important for who we are as CareSouth moves forward over the next 3 years. So An update that wasn't quite as long as the last one, but some important things that I feel like I want to keep you up to date on. Notice I hadn't talked about anything related to COVID. Everything is still looking good. Please think about getting your booster. The bivalent booster is available whether or not you've had the previous boosters. So come and get it. It will be another tool in your toolkit to stay safe. Take care, folks. There is still a virus out there. Bye bye.